and their bodies are not fully developed. How much
that second chance for a break that would all beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins. Let me be in the arms of, and it's hard at the end of the day. Away from here, from of your silence, I'll find some peace tonight.
In 1903, Madame Curie won the Nobel Prize for her pioneering work on radioactivity, which she mistakenly considered harmless to humans. We now know that her premature death from a rare blood disease was directly related to her exposure to radiation. And to take action even after the danger is exposed. Unfortunately, many people suffer and die before we eventually get around to dealing with many potential risks. Diseases are on the rise, including Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and some forms of cancer. Why? Well, many scientists believe we're under assault by another form of common pollution we may have underestimated. Invisible, odorless, silent, and potentially deadly. This form of pollution is everywhere. You can't escape it. Electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs, produced by most electrical devices, appliances, and the high-voltage power lines that surround us. Electromagnetic radiation, emitted by most wireless devices. And microwaves, the same energy frequencies we use to cook food in microwave ovens. But your microwave oven isn't the only source of pulsing microwave radiation that assaults you every second of every day. Television, telephone, and computer signals are transmitted by microwaves. Even some automatic garage door openers use microwaves to operate. Some environmentalists call this proliferation of EMFs electropollution, and one United States government agency warns that the levels Americans are exposed to every day without even being aware of it may be dangerous. And now, one source of electropollution has become an increasingly integral part of our lives. Up close and personal, the cell phone. In 1993, the first lawsuit was filed against the cell phone industry by a man who claimed his wife's brain tumor was caused by cell phone use. A brain tumor shaped exactly like her cell phone antenna. The resulting publicity prompted the cell phone industry to fund a $25 million study to prove that cell phones were safe. They hired Dr. George Carlo, a highly respected public health scientist, to conduct the research. Dr. Carlo's study was thorough and conclusive, proving just the opposite of what the cell phone companies wanted. In fact, Carlo found a strong connection between cell phone use and brain tumors, neurological disease, and genetic damage. The scientific evidence is mounting daily. Brain cancer is up 25% since cell phones became popular. Every year, there are 183,000 more cases in the U.S. alone. And this may just be the beginning. Like smoking and lead poisoning, the damage from electropollution is cumulative and may take years, even decades, to reveal itself. But every exposure may adversely affect your health. Several renowned neurosurgeons believe radiation from cell phones and other mobile devices are directly related to the 21% increase in brain tumors in children. Children and teenagers are at greatest risk from electropollution damage because their skulls are thinner, they have more brain fluid, and their bodies are not fully developed. How much time does your child spend on the cell phone every day? And how will the constant barrage of electromagnetic radiation from cell phone use affect your child's health in 5 years, 10 years, 20 or more years? And if you think using a hands-free set reduces your risk of exposure to deadly radiation, think again. According to research commissioned by Britain's Consumer Association, conventional hands-free sets may actually increase electric field strengths inside a user's head by 3.5 times. It appears that the headset wire acts as a concentrating aerial that attracts and channels radiation toward the head, not just from your cell phone, but from all sources of EMFs, electromagnetic radiation, and microwaves in the vicinity. In a recent study, neurosurgeons at Lund University in Sweden proved conclusively a link between radiation emitted from cell phones and brain damage. The researchers attached cell phones to the cages of rats and exposed them to intermittent electromagnetic radiation for only 2 hours, emulating typical cell phone use. 50 days after that single 2-hour exposure, the rat's brain showed significant blood vessel leakage, as well as areas of shrunken, damaged neurons. Researchers concluded the damage could produce significant long-term mental deficiencies. And in 2004, respected scientists in Sweden proved for the first time a definitive human link between cell phone use and benign brain tumors located exactly where the patients held their cell phones. Dr. Sheldon Levy, a respected physician and surgeon, has studied the effects of EMF radiation.
I have to tell you, it's hard to ignore the data. We must consider the long-term risks of cell phone use. If indeed the effects are cumulative, then young people who are using cell phones at such an early stage in their development run a particularly high risk.
Now, when the iPhone was first launched in June 2010, people really loved the whole new host of innovative features that it had, but it became pretty immediately notorious for dropping a whole bunch of calls. The reason for this was because people were simply holding the phone around the exposed antenna, which essentially amounted to a design flaw. Now, what you might not know is that when you do hold the phone on the outside antenna, even though you may not see signal bar strength loss, the phone is actually upping the output of radiation and sort of boosting the power to try to compensate for the signal loss, and you are exposing yourself needlessly to additional radiation. Now, there's a company called TalkOn that actually created an application for the iPhone, for the Android, and for the BlackBerry. This application is not available because Apple basically, as you can probably imagine, did not want this sort of information to be publicly made aware. But when you see the video from their website, and you see people actually holding the iPhone in what's called the death grip, you can see before your eyes the amount of radiation output being emitted by the phone to try to compensate for the signal loss. And this is, if you don't know about this, probably the way you're using your phone regularly. So we would advise getting a case so that you aren't completely covering the external antenna. And when you go into places like an elevator or other enclosed spaces, basically try to get off your phone. Even though you don't see signal loss, the phone is upping the radiation to compensate, which obviously isn't very good for you. And that's it. The iPhone death grip. Watch out for it.